Yes.
And what's the time?
Time to start.
Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're having a good Friday so far. In England, I forgot, but it is the bank holiday weekend, so I'm sure everyone in England is happy because you've got 3 days off, so hope you're having fun. Here in Chile, it's really sunny. It was freezing this morning, hence the thermals, but now it's really, really hot and yeah, sunny. So yeah, hope everyone's good. Today we're doing, sorry, my pad's falling apart here. Today we're focusing on global goal number 5, gender equality, which I'm sure myself and all the women and girls that do the global goal stuff very passionate about this one, due to being female athletes and coaches, female teachers, female leaders. So it's very close to home, and all of us have had to go through various battles and challenges with this goal, so it's very prevalent and prominent in our lives. So yeah, we're very passionate about this one. Hopefully you watched Dee's session earlier. It was awesome, and Clara did a focus on the global goals, gender equality number 5, so check that out as well, because she goes into a lot more detail about specifically breaking down the goal into like 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 and giving us a to-do list. I'm going to be focused on the global goals games, which is how to inspire kids, inspiring the next generation to rethink gender equality, so hopefully they can do it better than our generation, hopefully. So the idea of these games, if you haven't watched one of these sessions before, if you come in closer, we'll follow the high five methodology, which I invented just basically to keep myself on track so I don't go off on a tangent, but can be helpful for kids too. So this is my hand, if you can see. So we're going to start with a fun warm-up game. Then we go to an individual game, because a lot of people now are in quarantine or quarantena, and so the individual game is something that everyone can do on their own. I have no one to play sports with, so I can do stuff on my own. Then a group game for those of you who are lucky enough to have a family that you can play games with, or if you're living with housemates. Physical challenge is something we do just to kind of unite the world together, like when I with my friends from different countries and even within Chile, we do physical challenges, just so we're like working towards a common goal. And like when I go running on my own, it's pretty boring unless I have music on, but this week for example we're doing golden hour challenge, so like how far we can run in 1 hour, and just the fact of knowing my friends are doing it too helps a lot, so that's why we do the physical challenge, to unite everyone. And action for the goal is something that we can all do to help contribute towards gender equality. And good news is, just by watching this, you're taking action for the goal, because you're informing yourself and educating yourself. So well done, already achieved that one. Also, happy International Solidarity Day. Today, hundreds of like non-profit organisations and CICs and charities are all kind of collaborating and getting together, and with the hashtag Stronger Together and a nice like rainbow thing. So that's why we're wearing a lot of colours, as you can see. And yeah, hope everyone has a great Solidarity Day. So let's get started with the session. So as I am in rural Chile here, we've had to come to Raphael's bakery and use his back garden, hence why I am quite literally in the middle of nowhere. I don't have the luxury of like having a whole kit room of stuff, so I just have the stuff which I take everywhere. So in my bag I have ping pong balls, table tennis bats, I've got 3 smiley balls, cones, a skipping rope and a football, water bottles, my oil pastels and my pens. So wherever you are you could probably obtain these kind of things, I think. Cones is sometimes a struggle, so maybe use socks or rocks. Rocks might be sore. Skipping rope, you can use any rope. Football, I kicked mine in the river last week, so luckily a friend let me borrow his one from the Russian World Cup. Hi to everyone in Russia, thanks for your football. Yeah, so I think you should be able to do this session easily. So the warm-up and the individual game is kind of combined today. So if you refer to this section of the page, if you want to come in closer, and look at this. Okay, so the idea is of this session, if I'm coaching a load of kids, is to highlight to them that there currently, sadly, in the world, there is a lot of inequality amongst the opportunities, treatment and attitude between the different genders. And so we want the kids to figure it out for themselves, not just preaching at them. So the idea of these games is that we show kids a game and then use the guided discovery method of teaching and question and answer to trigger them to make their own choices and to get them to figure things out themselves. And kids are really smart and really imaginative and really creative, and so they will most probably come up with the ideas and solutions themselves, which is really awesome. So here we have the warm-up game and the individual challenge. So what you need is a goal. I'm going to be using my 2 water bottles because I do not have a goal, sadly. Then you're going to have 2 different kind of pistes or like channels. So one of them is going to be super easy. So it's just, you can see here, it's just like a cone and then 2 cones and then you shoot. The other one, you want to make it as hard as you can. So like hurdles, ladders. I actually forgot my ladder, so I didn't have it. Loads and loads of difficulty. And the warm-up, you can just practice them with a ball or without a ball, whatever you want. If you're a basketball team, you do it bouncing the ball. Hockey team, do whatever's appropriate to your sport. And then you're going to have 5 balls because it's goal number 5, just to help them remember which one it is. And when you go into the individual challenge, then you can race against another individual to see how quick you can score 5 goals. So you can apply this in all sports. So obviously I'm a footballer, like that's my main sport, but you could do it with hockey, basketball, squash, tennis, like any sport you can adapt this. Even like more outdoor water sports, like you could do this on, I do stand-up paddleboard coaching, so you could do this on a stand-up paddleboard, a kayak, you could do it paddling as a surfer. Like there's loads of ways to adapt it, because we don't want to be only focusing on football. So yeah, let's have a go. So I'm sure you can kind of already guess what the learning outcomes are going to be, but we'll give it a try. Okay. So what I need to do is construct 2 pieces. So first I need my goal. So I have my 2 water bottles. So this one, thank you to SUP Bristol, my colleagues back in Bristol for this one. And this is my favourite water bottle because I did the Ironman with it, and it recently got melted in a campfire, so it is officially unique. So I'm going to make one really easy piece. So if you're a skier or a mountain biker, we'll say this is the green run. Super easy and lots of space. Okay, so there's the green run. If you're familiar with the codes of mountain biking and skiing, it goes green, blue, red, black. And orange is like fancy tricks. So that's the green one. Now we're going to make a really hard one. So I'm going to go for red cones. So less space, like closer together. Hi to everyone watching, by the way. My mum, my dad. Ellen is watching. Ellen, where are you? Okay, so you can see this one is a lot harder. Okay, we're going to throw my hat in there. Let's get the oil pastels and pens involved. You might as well just use everything. When you do this with little kids, they're going to get really upset, so you need to be ready for this, because kids between 4 and maybe 10, they're going to get really upset, so you have to be ready and prepared, because they really do not like injustice, and they will tell you straight away. So you have to be prepared, or maybe tell them it's like a kind of a challenge, because otherwise they're going to be like, especially if they're one-on-one, they're going to be like, this is so unfair, and they might cry. So you need to maybe be ready for that. Okay, so this piece here, I'm going to be doing with my Russian football. This piece I'm going to be doing with one of the smiley balls. The smaller the ball, the harder it is because you have to have better foot-eye coordination. Okay, let's go. So the warm-up. We'll start with the easy piece. So hopefully you've made some kind of equivalent in your garden or in your living room or on your yoga mat. Okay. So we'll start with the easy one. I'm going to do it with a football, so it's football specific. Okay, so remembering, just like in all the braid trainings that we've done, to use both feet, try to keep looking up so you have spatial awareness, and then when you get to the goal, use the inside of your foot for accuracy, or the laces to generate power. Outside's going to generate spin. Okay, ready? Goal! Okay. Okay, now I'm going to have a try on the other piece. I've also got the difficulty of very long grass. So first challenge, on this one you've got to do 5 skips. Okay, now it's very hard in the long grass. I'm going to suggest to Raphael that he cuts his grass in this area if he wants to have future trainings. Okay, here we go. Here in Chile we are constructing our log cabin, and hence I'm in full thermals because at night it was so cold. We had a frost this morning and I wore 5 layers last night and I was still cold. Okay, when you get to your hat or something you have to jump over it 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. Through your pencil case. You've got to do a spin and then you've got to score backwards. Okay? This is Bruce the car, our loyal companion. Okay, so now you get the hang of it. So that's the warm-up. Hopefully you noticed your heart rate's gone up, your breathing rate's gone up, all the things that we always talk about. So now going to move on to the individual game. So if you're teaching a class of kids on Zoom or Meet or something like that, like some of my nieces are doing their classes on Zoom, so you could get all of them in their bedroom to set up 2 courses, one easy, one hard, and then you do a competition. Okay, right, so now I'm gonna time myself. I've got to score 5 goals and then I'll time myself for the hard one and see how long it takes. Okay, let's go. You can always show them the volcano if you want. Eureka! Okay, ready? Tell me when to go. Can you see the time on that? Okay, we're just gonna guess. Or have you got a song on? Okay, see how many songs it takes. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Use both feet, otherwise it doesn't count. 1. Oh, the post is down. 2. Make sure the kids are using both feet, otherwise it's not valid. Tramposo. That's 3. Is that deliberate? 4. 5.
35.
35 seconds. Nice. Whew. I'm regretting my thermals. Okay, so 35 seconds. So 7 seconds per shot. Okay? Now for the hard one. Ready? So all the activities are 5s, right? Because it's goal 5. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! long grass is a excellent training sport. I'm so hot in these thermals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Through the oil pastels. 1. How long was that 1?
30 seconds more or less.
Oh. So hopefully by this point the kids are either going to be very sad or very angry at how unfair the competition is, because if their best mate is on that one and they finished all 5 in the time that took me to do 1, the kids will not be happy and they will be letting you know about that. If you do it with older kids or adults, they might they won't probably get angry. Maybe teenage boys will. They'll probably see it as quite funny. Okay, so this is my 3rd one. As you can see, it's taking so long. I hope your long, difficult one is going well. I'd love to see what you've produced. So maybe I can imagine my mum and dad are going around the kitchen table, down the garden, maybe like jumping into the bathroom, up the stairs. My parents' stairs are very steep, so that'll be good. It's so hot now. Okay, this is lap number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through the oil pastels. Okay, nice. I'm actually not going to do the final 2, just because you might get bored of watching me do the same thing over and over again. But you get the idea. There's a massive, huge difference in the time it takes to do the easy course with the easy football. Oh, I forgot to shoot it backwards. You should be shooting it backwards. Compared to the hard course with the small, tiny ball, long grass, and you should be shooting it backwards, I forgot. So then, with your group of kids, you're going to use the question and answer method and the guided discovery. So if you're in the world of pedagogy or teaching education, then you probably heard of all these buzzwords. If you're not, then just quickly explain. Basically, guided discovery is when you let the learner make their own decisions and figure out themselves. And it's so much more effective because you have to think yourself. Whereas, for example, if I just say to you, gender equality is really important and we should all treat people equally, then you'll just turn off and you'll think, why is she telling me what to do? So guided discovery is when you offer people some options and you say which one do you think would be better? Then people feel empowered, they make their own choices, they take ownership of the learning. It's just a lot more effective. I mean, it's common sense really. Do you want to be given options and choice and freedom, or do you want to be told what to do? So anyway, guided discovery. So what I'd say to the kids is, so guys, I'm going to talk in a kid way now, even more than usual. So guys, how did you find the courses? And hopefully they're going to be shouting probably it's so unfair, why? I had to only do 3 obstacles with a big ball and short grass. And over here we had to do such a hard one. And then I'll say okay, can you think of any other situations in real life when there might be some kind of difficulties or 2 things are much more difficult, and then there'll be a pause, everyone will be thinking, and then kids are brilliant. That's why I work with kids, because they have such good imagination and creativity. They don't hold anything back, no filters. So what they will maybe come up with is oh yeah, my dad's a ballet dancer. If anyone's seen Billy Elliot, you should watch it. So maybe one of them's going to say yeah, my dad is a ballet dancer, and ballet is heavily stereotyped that it's for girls, and in fact some of the greatest dancers in the world are men, and they're so strong, they're amazing athletes. If you ever watched ballet, unbelievably strong. And maybe they'd say when I was a kid I was the only guy in a class of all girls, and they made me feel like I was the odd one out and really weird. My mates teased me for doing ballet because they were all playing rugby. like etc etc. So then you could say like, oh, that's a really good example. So you can apply that, like all the girls, they all had their like pretty tutus, and it was quite normal for a girl to do ballet, easy, they got success. The boy had to like overcome all the prejudices and probably a bit of bullying and discrimination. People maybe saying like, oh, are you gay? Like, why is that relevant to know someone's sexual orientation? It's a personal question, doesn't matter anyway. So yeah, the same. Then you can flip it round. So we've talked about how a boy or a man could be discriminated against and experience gender inequality. For example, my friend is a male nurse, or like male primary school teachers. They often talk about how it's quite hard to operate when you're the only guy in a very female dominated profession. And then we can flip it around, and now we can talk about how hard it is for female athletes, female coaches, and just any female in sport. In case you're not aware, it's really hard. All the girls and women in the Global Goals World Cup group will testify to this. If you want them, if you have any questions, I'm sure they would love to finally have a voice and be able to tell you. So from my perspective, I started playing football when I was 7. Football at that time was really male dominated, but luckily the boys in my class were really nice, let me play. I was the only, maybe there was like 2 girls that played, so I was the only girl in my football team. That's quite a common story amongst a lot of people my age, because it was considered quite a boys' game. So if you played it, then when you got older, and people told me, I remember playing when I was 11, and like some really big guys in my school, like 16, 17, 18, like all cornered me at one point and said like, are you a boy or a lesbian? And I was like 11 years old, and I said, neither. So there's a lot of like bullying that goes on about it. I just wanted to play football with my friends. Luckily my friends that were guys were very nice. Then I chose to go into football coaching, because I really loved coaching my friends who were in my girls team. And wow, it is so hard to be a female football coach, so soccer. I'm sure maybe if you know any other female coaches of maybe any sport, they will tell you as well, or female managers. For example, can you name any female managers of football clubs? Anyone? I mean, I could, but the general people, like, also, could you name 10 female professional footballers right now? Again, like, I mean, in the world of female football we can, but I don't think many people can. Like there is huge disparities between pay, like salaries, which is unbelievable. Like talking to some of the pro footballers that are on the Global Goals World Cup team, like the other girls that deliver, because I don't play pro football, no, not at all. But like Jackie, Ella, Babette, they play pro football, and they've had so many challenges along the way, just trying to do what their profession. As a female football coach, I started coaching when I was 15, and so now I'm 30. Woohoo, so old now. So I've been coaching for 15 years, and I actually basically left the world of football in 2013. So when I was 23, just because it's awful. Like it just makes it so hard. And I think the main difference between me and some of my colleagues that I've worked with in my career is that I really care about the kids. Like that is my main thing, that the kids are happy and they're having fun. And that was quite hard for me to be involved in a system that was not aligned to the same goal, because my objective is like the kids are happy, they're having fun, parents are happy, that everyone's enjoying themselves and they're safe and they're learning stuff. But if you're not aligned to the same goal as the whole system, it's very difficult to thrive. And I got bullied so many times. And so then when I was 23, I just thought, I actually don't know if I want to work in football, even though I love it. So I kind of moved to sports for development and like outdoor pursuits, adventure activities, which is so fun. And I'd like to give a big shout out to, if they're watching, anyone from Mojo Active in Bristol and Urban Pursuit in Bristol, because my colleagues in those organisations are so cool. Like really, even though it's male dominated, the guys were brilliant, and the girls too, and really like taught me how to be in an amazing team. So thank you to everyone at Urban Pursuit and Mojo. Thanks for being awesome and really flying the flag for gender equality. Anyway, enough talking. I'll now show you the group game that we're going to do. Okay, so that's everything up here is what I just spoke through, letting the kids make their own judgments and thinking about how there's inequalities in the world. They could also go into like racism and other forms of discrimination, doesn't really matter. Here's the small-sided game. So if you're not in the world of football, SSG means small-sided game, and it's a way to teach scenarios that would happen in the full 11-a-side, but with more touches, more time on the ball, but just because there's less players. So you, like if you play 5-a-side, you're going to get a lot more touches than if you play 11-a-side, especially if you're a centre-back or a player that maybe doesn't get so much time on the ball. So can you see the diagram? Okay, so here's our pitch, and it's just simply a 5v5. Also, Jackie, one of my colleagues, one of the girls on the coaching ambassadors for Global Goals, she's going to be doing a new series about how to play 5v5, so you should definitely watch that. And it's really good for the Global Goals World Cup teams, because that's what we play in the Global Goals World Cup tournaments. So basically you're going to add conditions that will make this 5v5 really unfair on one team. So it's called the Inequalities Match. Kind of goes straight on from the unfair obstacle shootout. So I'm sure you can get the kids to think about ways that could make it unfair, but here I've listed a few which I thought of. So here's like more negative ways on one side, and here's like positive ways. So you can probably think of ways to make a football match unfair. So for example, a very biased referee. And the kids really enjoy being a biased referee because they have a lot of power, and it can be quite funny. So like you can get the biased referee to just make stupid rules like, okay, everyone has to do a handstand right now, or like, okay, one team is only allowed to crawl. So you can make it really funny. They'll enjoy that. Then you can reduce the space for the team that you want to discriminate against. Okay, so if you imagine we're trying to make it very hard for the purple team here, so we're going to reduce their space. So you see the lines I put in here. So we're going to say, okay, so the first condition we're going to play in this match is that the oranges can go everywhere, but the purples can only go in this bit, so they're restricted. Or you could say the purples can only play in this section. Like you just reduce their space, because if you've played any invasion games before, then you know space is what you need to play effectively. So like ultimate frisbee, netball, basketball, hockey, the whole principle of the games is to create space, which gives you more time, and then it helps you make calmer, better decisions, be more composed, and then you can kind of play the game better just because you've got more time and space. Just be careful of drilling kids, because quite often when I coach kids, you're trying to get them to say the word space and time, but they just got used to saying space when any coach asks them like, so what do you have? And they just say space, and they don't actually know what it means. They're just used to every coach saying, what do you need? Space. So just make sure they understand what it actually is. It's not like outer space. We're not talking about aliens. Okay, I'm trying to read this upside down. So yeah, more players on the other team. So if we're making it difficult for the purple team, we're going to make an overload on the oranges. So we're going to just suddenly throw in another player. So the oranges are going to have like an extra player working with them. Or we take out one of the purple team and say like, sorry, you're playing with 4. So that will make it harder as well. You can also add in conditions like one touch, which means you have to be a lot more of an able footballer, because you need to be able to think where you're going to pass it before you receive it. It's quite advanced. Then you can restrict the control. So like, okay, every time you receive the ball, you've got to do a rollover, which, if you want to learn how to do it, was our first in the Brave soccer skills to play on the word soccer. I was proud of that one. Restrict the shooting zone. So you could say like, okay, the purple, sorry, you can only shoot in your own half. Unlucky. they're going to be very angry. You might have to explain before that you're trying to make an unfair football match, otherwise there's going to be a lot of tears. Okay, positive ways. So you can add an extra player to help. So this is something you can do if you're coaching kids and you notice that one of the teams is a lot less experienced. Then you can give them a floating player to help them, just to make a positive overload. Extra time. So maybe you're gonna say like, okay, well, actually the orange team, after every goal they're gonna have free play and they can shoot however they like. More space again, so like extending the space, restricting the other team. I'm just gonna read this because I can't read upside down that well. So you can add special rules which can be hilarious. So for example, a free kick every time the other team speaks. That's quite funny. And when Goose coached our rugby team in Freiburg, then he did loads of silly rules which were really fun. Like we have to do cartwheels. Like whenever he blows the whistle, we had to do a cartwheel. And obviously that takes people, one team is cartwheeling so that they are occupied and out of the game. So it means the other team can run through and score a try. And it also simultaneously strengthens your arm muscles. So it's funny. So that's good for team morale. So I'm sure like maybe if you've got ideas for conditions that you can add to a small-sided game to unbalance the teams, then what would be cool is if we could have like an international brainstorming session or mind map. So like in the comments of this video, if you have any ideas, just write like how you would cool ideas to unbalance the teams. So like adding a cartwheel rule, the goalie has to handstand, one goalie has to sit down, like one team has to play in the crab position, like anything, and then we'll have like a massive list hopefully, or I'll just write loads of like cool ways to condition the game. So if we share them, then everyone can like benefit from them. So that takes us on to the next part. So we've done the warm-up, individual game, remember the assault courses, the group game, this Inequalities Match, 5v5. Then now we're going to do the physical challenge. So this is one of the brave challenges we did. It's called the Flamingo challenge, but I've added 2 levels, again to like highlight inequalities and how sometimes you have a lot of barriers and challenges which make doing the same task harder. So one Flamingo challenge is to do it with your eyes open, and one Flamingo challenge is to do it with your eyes closed. So this replicates like some inequalities that people might face. So for example, if there's I know in some countries like women aren't allowed to drive cars, or women aren't allowed to go to school. So you could say like, okay, we're going to do this Flamingo challenge. One of you's going to have your eyes open, one's going to have your eyes closed. Like how long can you do it for? And it's highly likely that if you have your eyes closed, you won't be able to keep your balance so much because your eyes help you maintain your balance. So then you can say like, okay, so if a guy and a girl are in a country where the girls can't go to school, then and they take an exam when they're 18, who do you think is going to get better results? And they're going to say like, well, the one that went to school for 18 years, not the one that's been at home trying to help cook. So just little things like that, just to highlight the inequalities. Or like if you want to talk about money, I don't really like money, but if you want to talk about it, like, okay, so which of these boxers do you think is going to have be better prepared to go to the Olympic Games? The one that's registered as a professional and can train full time and has amazing facilities, or the one that's having to do it on top of being a doctor and doing it in their spare time with no facilities, no funding? So you can highlight a lot of inequalities. Okay, so let's do the Flamingo challenge. You can even do it with different balls. So I'll do it firstly with my eyes open. Do it with my eyes open, and with the big ball, which should be easy to balance, the Russian World Cup ball. Okay, so everyone can do it at the same time. It's quite cool to imagine people all over the world doing it. So hi to Maiken in Denmark and Marie in the States, and everyone watching in Chile or England. Is there any other countries watching, please? No one? Okay, so we're just going to see how long we can balance it for. If you're finding it too easy, like I am, then you can try with your weaker foot, because I'm mainly right-footed. Okay, if you're finding it easy, then you can look at the camera or the phone while you're trying to do it. Okay, so you should find that one was quite easy. Now you're going to get a smaller ball, so a smiley ball or a pink. Let's try a ping pong ball. That's quite hard because of the wind. Let's try a smiley one. Okay, and now I'm going to do it with my eyes closed. Okay, let's try again. So with the kids, you're going to keep reminding them, like, what is this replicating in real life? Why are we doing this? And hopefully they'll say, like, oh, it's to get us to realise how many inequalities are existing and how many barriers and challenges some people have to face, like not having opportunities to go to school or to train, or being discriminated against, or like feeling the odd one out. There we go, right, eyes closed. Tell me when it drops. Drop? Oh yeah. Anyway, so those are things you can practice. Make it as hard as you want. Use ping pong balls, little balls, have your eyes closed. Make it really hard, one of them, and really easy, the other one. Okay, so I think that is most of our session done. We've done the warm-up, was the unfair obstacle shootout, which you can adapt to any sport. Netball, basketball, hockey, rugby, anything. Surfing, stand-up paddleboarding, climbing. If you do it on a climbing wall, you can do like one really easy route with the big green boulders, and then one really hard route where you put like hoops on the wall and you've got to go through it. So you can really adapt it to the outdoor world as well. Here we've got our Inequalities Match. So there's loads of conditions you can put on that to make it unfair. One of the most hilarious ones is getting a kid to be the referee, because they can think of some really unfair things. And maybe get every kid to try being a referee, just then it gives them an appreciation of how hard it is to be a referee. And then you've got the Flamingo challenge, one really easy way, one really hard way, just to replicate like barriers and challenges that some people have to face on a daily basis. Like so amazing, some of the women that are playing football in countries where it's not acceptable to play football. I wouldn't be able to survive in a country which wasn't acceptable to do sport, so it's amazing. I know some of the girls on the ambassador program of the Global Goals World Cup are playing in the Afghani national team, and that was a massive personal risk to their lives, because it was so hard and so much prejudice against it and corruption. So it's just incredible like how brave they were. So go the Afghani national team. I think that's everything. Oh yeah, action for the goals. So check out, one thing we can all do is check out Clara's video, which is on the Clubhouse, which goes through in detail like ways we can all improve the gender equality in the world. You can also watch Dee's session this morning, watch the repeat, because she was also focusing on these goals. And then just little things you can do is just maybe talk to someone from the opposite gender, so if you're a guy, talk to a girl and say like, oh, have you ever felt like discriminated against? We did it in Copenhagen when we first met all of the other coaches, and they said like, put your hand up if you've ever felt discriminated against, and every single person in the room put their hand up, which is like pretty awful. If you're a girl, talk to a guy and say, have they ever felt discriminated against? So like maybe some guys who are playing a sport where they're the minority, or like if they're in a profession where it's mainly female, they might have also felt some gender inequalities. Or like some guys feel like they're not allowed to be sensitive, or they can't show emotion, or they can't cry. I think that's really awful, because everyone has the right to feel emotions and feel how they want to feel. So yeah, that's the task for everyone this weekend. Talk to someone of the other gender and see if they've ever felt any discrimination, and then see what you could do to change your attitude or your treatment or your the way that you offer opportunities. So yeah, I think I'll just show you the session plan one more time in case there's anything you missed, and I'll also put it on our Instagram for Brave. And then I'm going to be sending all of these to Marie, who's doing an amazing job at putting together all our videos and coordinating everything. And I think she's going to make them accessible online so that everyone can use them if they want. Yeah, thanks again to all the other coaches in the clubhouse, and to Marie and Micah for coordinating us so well and putting together all the website and keeping us all on track. So thank you, and thanks for watching. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.